This is eCoffee with Experts, where marketers and founders share what's actually working in SEO, AI, and digital growth. Grab your coffee and fuel your mind as we chat with top minds about their wins, struggles, and lessons you won't find in a blog post. Brought to you by Digital Web Solutions, we bring real talk to help you grow your business, one episode at a time. Let's get started.
Scott Cohen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Austin. I always love to nerd out on email.
Yeah, I know. You have a whole podcast about it, actually, which is very cool. And we'll link it in the show notes here. So I guess to kick us off on that note, I mean, what do you spend most of your time thinking about these days when it comes to email?
Excellent question. I think like a lot of people, and it's not just an email problem, but is AI coming to take our jobs? But I also take heart in knowing that it'll just make our jobs easier. It will not take our jobs. Email is very complex, which is funny because, I mean, I was a copywriter in my early career and people were going, it can't be that hard. It's just words. And email is kind of that way too. It's just email. I get them every day. But email, there's copy, there's design, there's strategy, there's coding, there's platform work, analytics, deliverability. I mean, there's like 7-8 disciplines wrapped up into one channel. And for some reason, a lot of companies think one person can do that. We've all worked with websites. How many people can write a website, design a website, and code a website?
Not very many that do it well. That's the key.
Correct. So, AI will make things faster. It'll make things a little easier. The baseline for acceptability will be, I think it'll be set at a higher level that's only marginally higher than where it is with humans. Let's be fair. It is kind of a race to mediocrity. So, but I spend a lot of my time with that, obviously with AI. Also, the last year and a half, 2 years has been like a just wild west of changes in terms of deliverability with the new requirements for authentication, things like that with Gmail, which magically, and I don't know how quickly this will go to air, Austin, but November 1st, Gmail came out and said, by the way, just in time for holiday season, we're enforcing all the rules now for everybody. So if you don't have it set up, via con Dios to your deliverability. So
whoa.
Fun times.
Yeah. Can you walk me through? What does that actually mean? Like, what do you mean they're following the rules?
So last year, about halfway through 2024, Gmail came out, Yahoo has followed suit, Microsoft has followed suit as well. So there's 3 main protocols for authentication. In a sense, it's SPFs, and I'm only going to do the acronyms because I can't remember the full words here. SPF, DKIM, DKIM, and DMARC, DMARC. Those are the big 3. And basically what it does is at some level, SPF and DKIM tell the recipient that the email is actually coming from you, right? It's sort of so if you are, let's say you're Target and you're sending emails from Target, if you think about the emails that you get from Target, they're coming from, I don't know what platform they're on, but they're coming from an email service provider. They've given them subdomains to do all this stuff, but it's essentially saying, hey, this email is actually coming from Target. DMARC is essentially the other way, which is if it doesn't show up with this type of signature, and the deliverability people are probably rolling their eyes because I'm probably using the wrong words here. And I'm one to go, hey, go talk to the deliverability experts. Right. I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not an expert. Basically, what it does is go, if it doesn't come with this signature or, like the old seal of the king, then you can show it's actually not from them. So if it doesn't come properly DMARC authenticated from Target, they can reasonably say it's not from you. We can't trust it, right? So with those 3 in mind, Gmail has said, it used to be that SPF and DKIM were the requirements and DMARC was a nice to have. Last year, they said DMARC was a must, but they've been kind of loosely enforcing it for the last year and a half. November 1st, they came out and said, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. If you don't have your ducks in a row, we're going to start blocking stuff.
Oh, wow.
So, typically it'll be the bigger players, like it's the people who are sending more than 5,000 emails a day. I don't recall if that threshold has gotten tighter. So it's really for the massive senders, which they loosely define at 5,000's a pretty low threshold, in my opinion, for a mass sender.
Sure.
But it's super important, right? And those are the things that DMARC is, and all of these things, there's the science to it, which is you have to follow a certain protocol. And then there's the activities around that as well, which is even if you do those right, you still have to send to people who have signed up for your email. You still have to do all these things. You have to, the unsubscribe rules. Really, you should only be sending to people who have opted in, particularly if you're international, like if you're in the EU or UK or Canada, you can't email people who have not signed up for email. It's just like the laws here for SMS. Like you can't send SMS to people who have not signed up for SMS. It is illegal.
Yeah.
So
you get fined.
Yeah. So the only reason it's a big deal, it's because it's the time of year, right? November is the email Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The email and SMS Super Bowl. I mean, it's already started. I'm sure everyone has already seen, as of today, which is early November in 2025, they're already seeing Black Friday emails. But that's
early Black Friday deals.
It's a little bit of a kick in the crotch there,
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Like you're choosing now to be a hard ass? Okay, could you have waited until January? Like that would be great.
Yeah. I mean, we see it. It's not just Google with email, but Google on their SERPs, with the ref null change, that now they're not showing 100 pages, they're just showing 10. So it's like, I think the bigger tech companies are saying, okay, with AI coming out, there's all this AI slop, and we still want our users to have the optimal experience on our platform. So we're going to do everything we can to have like the signal come through the noise. And what are some ways that we can do that? Well, if you even if you are delivering high value content, you have to be enough of a player to have other things in order too. Right? You can't just be like you can, don't get me wrong, you can be like a solo player that does write great content, but likely they're probably looking a little bit longer term and saying like, who are we going to have as partners? It's probably going to be the people who can play by our rules, even if they want to use AI.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. The AI has been there with algorithms forever, right? In terms of deliverability and going, hey, is this good? Is this not good? You have your sort of higher level reputation as a sender that gets you to a certain point. I like to say it's like bouncers in a nightclub. Like, certain things will get you past the front door, and then certain things will get you into the VIP room. But then if somebody in the VIP room, your subscriber goes, I don't want this, or continues to throw you out, they go, yeah, that guy's not cool in my section of the VIP room, right? And so AI's been around forever in that respect. And yeah, there's no one way to do anything.
Yeah.
There's no one, everybody's looking for a silver bullet. And the old CEO here, a buddy of mine, used to say, if I had the silver bullet, I'd be a lot richer and I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, exactly. And get me out of here. Yeah. So bringing that down to, we're talking about big players, the 5,000 emails a day may not be considered, a big player in your eyes at Inbox Army. But tell me about, if we have smaller businesses, like small to medium-sized businesses who are going to really ramp up their email campaigns, especially for Black Friday and the holidays and everything like that. I'm curious because we can look at best practices, but I'm sure you can go on and on about those. What are some things that agencies or brands are, what are they getting wrong about scaling their email?
Going too fast too soon is a big one, right? I mean, you can talk about best practices, but think about it this way. Spam is around because it works enough to pay for itself, because email is cheap in that way. But if you are sending, let's say, a weekly newsletter, a weekly email, and you have 25,000 people on your list, and you go from weekly to overnight sending twice a day, every day, to that whole list, it's going to create a red flag, because what the providers look at, what the Gmails, Yahoos, yes, AOL still around, the Hotmails and, Microsofts of the world are looking at are spikes. Mm-hmm. So like the days of the monthly email newsletter are dead. If you have a large number of people on your list, like let's say you have 150,000 people on your list, 200,000, 250,000 people on your list, and you just get a spike of 250,000 once a month, your deliverability is going to have some issues. What they look for is consistency in behavior. So what we often see is somebody going from I mail once a week to now I'm going to mail 4 times a day because it's Black Friday. You may get away with it depending on the size of your list, but you may also not. And it won't necessarily affect you on Black Friday itself, but the long tail of when you get to January and you want to email those people who bought from you and get them to buy again, it may not get through because that spike looks like some spammer got in and just started hammering the list. And they don't know, right? That the providers have an idea of what your reputation looks like, but they don't know who's in control of it. All they can look at is the spikes in volume and the engagement that comes with it, right? So if you spike in volume, but complaint rates stay really low, unsubscribes stay really low, and you get those opens, those clicks, those conversions, like I said, you may get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're sending 4 times a day to get the same amount of stuff you would have gotten out of once a day or once in that week, like you just have to be careful. So this is probably going to go out too late for this year, but think about for next year, you start your ramp up on volume
Mm-hmm.
October 1st, right? Like if you need to prepare you need to build up your reputation over time, right? And go, okay, I've been sending once a week forever. Now I'm going to start doing twice a week for a couple weeks. Then I'm going to add a third. And then I'm going to do this so that when you do spike at a holiday, it's a reasonable spike in volume, right? Because when I went, in previous lives, we would send 2 to 3, sometimes 4 emails a week. And then when we got to Black Friday was twice in that day, then once Saturday, once Sunday, and then probably twice on Cyber Monday. But because we were mailing 2, 3, 4 times a week already, and we were also, doing the best practices around don't mail mail once a day to everybody. And then the others for the other hits, it'll be for the more engaged people or the people who clicked and didn't purchase, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not hammering 1 million people 3 times a day when you have been hitting 1 million people once a week. They look at that, and that's where automations become important too, is if you can get automations that have you at a base level of volume every day, you're showing, and typically like your welcomes, your cart abandons, things like that, those generate really good engagement and those help you, right? Because it's not a set equation. It's a melange of, authentication and good practices around, cleaning your list and making sure that people are opted out and you respect that and all those things. And then your actual send behavior and making sure you're pulling people out or, so there's a lot of, again, like I was saying, it's very complicated. And so that's why agencies like mine exist, is you go, let us do that thinking. Right.
Yeah.
You just need to worry about getting people on the list. We can worry about getting people through the list to engage and purchase and all that stuff. But, it's probably going to be too late for 2025, but 2026, start early. If you are planning on bumping up your volume, you need to bump up your volume ahead of time.
Yeah.
And start leaning into that.
There's a lot to it. And at Inbox Army, you guys don't just focus on email, although it is a priority, right? You also integrate SMS and push notification. Do you have like a framework for how to decide the right channel hierarchy in a campaign? Like what sends when and how often and et cetera? How do you think about that?
Yeah, the first step is to understand that the 3 channels have very different expectations and experiences, right? So email is asynchronous, if you think about it, right? I mean, yes, it comes in. I've turned off my notifications on my personal email. Otherwise, my watch would be buzzing too many times. Like I think the battery would die by 1.
Yeah.
But I can get to it when I want to. SMS is very disruptive. If you think about it, right? You're asking to be interrupted in your day with SMS because SMS, there's an urgency behind it. There's quiet hours. You can only send that during the day. Like you can't send in the evening, things like that. But the people that subscribe for SMS are also more likely to convert because they're saying, yeah, interrupt me, right? So in a previous life, 3 times more likely to convert if they were signed, not necessarily through SMS, but signed up for SMS because they were more engaged. They're like, yes, I'm okay to get this by SMS. Push, I feel like kind of lies in between. It's attached to an app, of course. I am so glad we're past the age where everybody had an app because they felt they needed to have one, even though it was basically a mobile storefront and not useful. I mean, the reason we all look at Amazon as the right way to do an app is because you could do everything. Although there are a couple things you can't, like there's weird Kindle things and they probably add that friction on purpose just to piss people off. But, push kind of lies in between, right? So it has the elements of urgency around the SMS, like I think like DoorDash, for example, right? I get SMS and push from DoorDash because I want my food. There's after that, you recognize, okay, so SMS is good for notifications. You can test into marketing a little bit, see, does it work? Push, it's where are you driving people to, right? Does SMS drive to the app? Does it drive to the site? Where's email going? Of course, there's the deep linking that you have to factor in if you have an app. So it automatically opens in the app if you're clicking through a link, all those fun things. But then it becomes a structured test and learn framework, direct marketing 101, right? So your control might be everything on at the same time. So email, SMS, and push. That's your baseline. Then you start testing into, well, they're not engaging with email. So will they engage with SMS? Will we throttle email in favor of SMS? Will we throttle, they're not doing SMS. They're still subscribed for it, but they're not engaging with it. Do we try push? Like there's a huge framework that you can, but the simplest level, it's like email only, SMS only, push only, everything, and then combinations of the two. And then you start learning what works. And then this is where AI can be helpful, is dividing those up and making those decisions of, hey, there's a message that needs to go out at this point. There's 3 options here. We actually think we should start with push, or we actually think we should start with email or start with SMS. But I always struggle, the gray hair in me struggles with just letting AI make the decisions without the testing to go on. So it's all about factoring that in.
I see. And yeah, that's really interesting now that you're saying that. Like, I will actually respond to some SMSs, even though like maybe I didn't even sign up for it. Yeah, I'm curious, just using my own personal experience here as a data point. But if I don't sign up for, or I can't remember signing up for an SMS, and I get something that I actually were like, I don't know how they knew that, but I'm going to engage with it. Can that action trigger other workflows like via email, via push notifications? Or maybe that's too broad of a question, but I'm curious.
No, I mean, it can. I mean, trust me, the sheer volume of political email, email, but also SMS I get where I go, I definitely didn't sign up for your program. But we all know that particularly in the US, Congress conveniently writes themselves out of all the laws they enact, including permission for SMS and things like that. But absolutely, if you engage with it, if you click through it, do you have a post-click, hey, they clicked and converted? Then you go into a standard conversion path. They clicked but didn't convert. Do you do a follow-up SMS? Do you do an email an hour later? Like, yes, absolutely. Engagement's engagement. I would run from the assumption that you did sign up in some way. Now, again, some people might be trying to skirt the law, but they could also argue, hey, they did click through and did convert. They can kind of get around it after the fact. I'm not going to tell people to do that. Get the opt-in, for the love of God. It's the legal requirement for SMS. But most of us don't remember when we signed up for. I mean, how many emails did you get right after COVID hit and we all got sent home and it was like, did I sign up for that? That might have been 10 years ago, right? Or I made one purchase for food and now you think I'm on your email list, because who knows? But I'm not going to get into the whole legal explicit consent versus implicit consent. That's for lawyers to figure out. # not a lawyer. Yeah. I mean, I would just treat that in that respect. Let's assume you have appropriate opt-in, and yes, based on how somebody converts or engages with something, absolutely build flows that make sense based off of that. So if they get an email and they don't respond, hit them with an SMS later that day that not exactly the same content, but maybe it's complementary, right? Like you don't want to have the exact copy. In both. You want it to be, remember the channel you're interacting in, right? So the SMS becomes, hey, what did we miss? What did we do here? What did we do there? You need to act. SMS really does need to be reserved for urgency just because of the way people view it, right? I'm an inbox zero guy, although I don't file things, but I would say I'm a notification zero person. I want to get rid of all those damn numbers in the bubbles.
Same. Drives me crazy. Yeah. I'm the same way. Speaking of numbers, I'm curious, like there's so many metrics that we can measure. I mean, in SEO, we see like website traffic is going down, click-through rates are dropping, but conversions might be going up and, LLM traffic might be raising as well. I'm curious what sort of metrics you look at in email marketing, like retention marketing today, that separates, like average programs from really, really good ones.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, the obvious ones are opens and clicks, and I'm a conversion guy, right? So revenue is king, conversion, whatever those conversions are, right? So if we want somebody to download a white paper, you send an email, how many white papers were downloaded, right? But you send an email for apparel, you look at it in 2 ways. 1, you look at it in how much money did you make? 2, how many t-shirts did you sell, right? Like how much of what you're promoting did you sell? Because every time you send an email, you're likely going to make money in some way. Sometimes they view it and just go do something completely different and order something completely different. And that's fine because revenue is revenue. But if you send an email about a new line of t-shirts, how many of the new line of t-shirts did you sell? That's a great metric to look at. The most overlooked at metric is opens. So open rate, especially since the launch of iOS 15 a few years ago, it's always been directional, but now it's inflated.
Sure.
I mean, when that happened, my program went from averaging 22% open rate to like 36% open rate, like almost overnight, because Apple Mail auto opens email when you have mail privacy protection turned on. It auto fires the pixel that registers and open. Where it is useful, of course, is you establish your new benchmark and then you start going down. But especially if your opens fall off a cliff, because that means you have a deliverability issue. If it hits spam, it doesn't auto load the pixel. So, but I think where good programs become great is when you separate from channel attribution and go into customer conversion, customer attribution. And I've told this story a lot. And I've delivered sessions on why direct attribution sucks because we all have to fight over the same money. I'm like, why are we fighting? But a few lives ago, we sent the same 4 damn emails every week. We call it same damn email syndrome. And every week I would sit there and go, why am I only getting, it was a subscription business. I mean, talk about retention 101, right? You're trying to get people to rebuy all the time. And I went, why is it that I'm only getting like 10%, 15% of repeat attribution for email? We're the only channel that cares about it. We're the only channel that cares about it. I mean, outside the website, of course, and the app, but like, paid channels don't care about repeat. They don't. Right. They're all about acquisition. So I went to my data analyst. I said, all right, and this is pre iOS 15. So opens were more accurate. And I went, give me everybody that we sent an email to last week and show me conversion in any channel within 48 hours of receiving an email. And then break it down by whether they opened it or didn't open it. And 40% of revenue came from non-openers. And I go, oh, they were reminded to go rebuy. They didn't click through the email. They just went and bought. So you look at things like direct attribution. I call it inferred attribution. Like, look at those things. I think about the example I just said about the, how many t-shirts did you sell? What if somebody sees the email in the morning and that evening goes and buys t-shirts? They may not go through the email. Direct attribution is they open the email, they click the email, they bought in that same session. That conversion may have started in email and been finished by SEO or finished by direct search, right? Direct traffic, organic search, paid search. I mean, you look at those things and go, look at your paid search numbers on the morning, like 2 hours after you send an email. If you're sending to your whole list, go look at paid search, right? Because what happens if you're searching your brand name? And by the way, and you'll probably agree with this, branded search is a freaking racket. It's a freaking racket. And we spend so much money on it as marketers just to show up first for our own goddamn name.
Yeah, why?
It's so infuriating. Like, you need money for that? But yeah, but I sit there and I go, but email feeds into that. SMS will feed into that. Push might even feed into that, right? Of, hey, oh yeah, I got that thing. Let me go Google it really fast, or ChatGPT search. Let me look that up, or things of that sort. So, there's a lot of ways to get at the numbers, but I think the best programs remove the channel piece as much as possible and just go, if they're on the list, they get this number of emails, they do this, they do that, this number of people converted in the time. Because the most eye-opening thing for me was when I had to fight for budget and I went, if you added up every channel's claimed attribution and then matched it up to what the company actually made, 5x, if you just added everything up, because we're all claiming the same person's conversion. We all are.
Right.
So that's where I always break from my fellow email marketers a little bit and go, play well with others.
Yeah.
Share your data, do this, do that, but be the owner of the customer. And I think that's where the best programs come out, when they go, it's about the customer, not about the channel.
I love that. And that, I mean, you're insinuating that the first thing you need to have is clean data and like an overarching view of
100%.
understanding everything and how everything interacts together, which is where AI can help a lot with a key data analyst, to actually understand and comprehend the numbers
The human
Yeah.
touch cannot be ignored. The human touch cannot be ignored because AI is garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. As we wrap up here, Scott, I'm curious, what's your tech stack for like the tech stack essentials in 2025 for good email marketing?
Ooh, well, I'm not going to tell you what ESP to choose because email service provider to choose because one, we're vendor agnostic, and two, that is not an easy question to answer.
Yeah, it depends.
Yes. The famous 2-word answer in email is it depends. You need the tech stack looks, and I would say what CDPs claim to do, a lot of what would qualify as ESPs do now, or are getting better at it. But you need a tech stack that maybe it's Snowflake, maybe it's BigQuery or something like that. You need a data lake where everything sits. And that could be anything. You need something that enables, so there's like the data portion and then there's the actual output portion, right? So, an ESP that can handle obviously email with dynamic content to a certain extent, journey building, all those things. I mean, most ESPs do that to a certain extent. You don't need to go after like a Salesforce Marketing Cloud if you're small, because one, it'll cost you an arm and a leg. Two, nothing is it's a legacy platform. They're pushing agentic AI all over the place, but the actual sending engines are legacy, right? So look for those. Maybe SMS is part of it. Push should be part of it if you have an app, right? And only build an app if it's going to be useful. Because, we used to just throw everything on here. And even now I have probably way too many apps on my phone. And then every once in a while, I'm like, I don't ever use that. And then sometimes I go, but what if I do?
Yep. Agreed.
But then I also think it's less a tech stack and more of you need to adopt a CRM mindset and a CRM practice, a centralized practice. Maybe it's a CRM, like we conflate CRM practice with CRM platforms because like Salesforce is a CRM, but it's not customer relationship management, right? So you have a team that you can have people from different pieces of the organization, right? So if customer care doesn't know what you're promoting, they have to field the phone calls, right? They have to field the phone calls and somebody goes, hey, you sent this to me. And they're like, what are you talking about? The ideal tech stack enables them to see what you sent, when you sent it.
Yeah.
Even better, and this crosses the creepy line a little bit, you can see whether they open and engage with it. That's my personal favorite when people go, hey, I never got your invoice. And we go, you opened it 10 times. Nice try. But, if they don't know what the marketing team is doing, they don't know what the brand team is doing, they don't know what the product team is doing, like you get angry people calling in or you get angry people. And that's that lack of collaboration. So it's less about the tech stack because if you looked at, what is it? The MarTech like landscape map, Scott Brinker's map, and it was like 15 years ago it was like 100 and now there's like 17,000 logos on this thing. There are a lot of options. So think about what CRM means from that collaboration and enablement standpoint, and then also reserve some of your budget to build custom GPTs, because the only way that AI actually will work is by training it to be you, as close to you as possible, because otherwise you're just going to get generic stuff. Now, in some cases, generic stuff is great for directional. I love ChatGPT for give me the format, then I'll clean it up, right? The flaw is going, that's good enough. And you don't edit it to be you, right? You lose your voice, or your voice is so generic that it could be for any brand in the world, which let's be fair, there are some companies, and I always say there's plenty of work to go around in email, which is why we exist and we do great things. And there's people that are bigger than us. There's people that are smaller than us. Like there's a lot of work to go around. But if you're talking about from an organizational standpoint, not for agencies necessarily, but for companies, the marketers who are on the brand side, be thinking about what that centralized CRM looks like and what training a custom GPT could do for you. Because otherwise it's going to be generic and then nobody's going to, in previous lives, I was the guy raising my hand going, with the brand team, they're like, this is a video. I'm like, how do you want me to do stuff in email? And they just stared at me blankly. And that's a good question. I'm like, well, you want me to support this, but video doesn't render an email.
Yeah.
It still doesn't do it very well in email for the most part. And you're just going to give me a 2.5 minute video to just run with. And that's the extent of the support that I'm going to have for this. Awesome.
Yeah,
right?
let's go.
So I literally did a training where I'm like, this is what CRM means.
Mm.
It is not Salesforce. It is not HubSpot. It is not XYZ, sales tool. It is a whole thing of the customers at the center. How do they get support in every piece of all their touch points, right? Because
it's a mindset.
Yes, it's a mindset.
CRM as a mindset. I love that. Yeah, awesome. Scott Cohen, where can we learn more about you and Inbox Army?
Really easy, inboxarmy.com. We chose that name 9 years ago because it was short and under 10 characters and easy to remember. Inboxarmy.com. You can check us out there. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/n/ScottCohen13. Happy to connect with anybody and continue to nerd out.
Yeah, awesome. This has been great. And I do hope people look you up because man, there's a lot of meat left on the bone. And
we didn't even get
chewing,
to
baby.
like half of this. Yeah, we didn't even get to half of this. So yeah, we're good, man. We're good.
I know. Thanks for being here, Scott.
Absolutely awesome.